In my opinion, the gold standard for most small businesses to achieve a robust level of IT support is to contract with a managed services provider, or MSP. I recommend this to clients all the time, as I think it's a much safer route than trying to build a small internal IT team that checks the wide range of boxes across compliance, security, future planning, and training and support that you need for your technology to deliver on your requirements. However, like any category of business, not all MSPs operate exactly the same way. They don't all have the same scale, and finding one that fits what you need is essential. If you're looking for help on how to find the ideal MSP, I have another video on that, and I'll put a link to it in the description. But in this video, I'm going to focus in on 5 questions you should probably ask your MSP to ensure the services you're receiving are what you need to be successful. And the one crucial thing you should do today that can skyrocket your potential for success in your MSP relationship. First though, a quick introduction. My name is Nick DeCourcy. I'm the owner of Bright Ideas Agency, a digital transformation consulting company focused on the needs of smaller businesses. I'm also the author of Who's in the Co-Pilot Seat, a guidebook for small business leaders on how to adopt AI technology. I help businesses around the world get more from their investment in IT. If you're interested in learning more about working with me, there are links below where you can get more information. Before we start, let's quickly review the value that most small businesses can get from an MSP and what, ideally, you should be aiming for this relationship to look like. If someone tells you they work in IT, this doesn't really tell you much. IT has grown over the past decades to be a massive part of everything we do, and it's so big that someone can be an expert on one aspect of it and know next to nothing about other parts. And it's hard for any individual to come anywhere close to having a passable knowledge across the entire gamut of business technology. For this reason, many smaller businesses would need IT teams that make up half the headcount of their company to come anywhere close to covering all their bases. If you run a smaller business and you do all your IT internally through a single employee or a small team of 2 or 3, no matter how good these people are at their job, I guarantee they are missing something that is either creating unnecessary risk or limiting the benefit you're getting from your IT investments. So just as you probably outsource many functions that are not core to what your business does, unless you're running a tech company, the best solution is to outsource IT too. That doesn't mean you have to get rid of Jim, who's been your IT manager since you started, but you just build an agreement with your new MSP to do the things Jim isn't so skilled at or not so interested in. And if Jim ever leaves, you don't have the headache of finding someone new with exactly the same skills. The point of having an MSP to manage your IT is pretty much the same as the point of hiring an architect to design your new building rather than doing it yourself. You don't know what you don't know about things that you're not specialist at. That 50-foot wide room you're planning without any structural supports might look absolutely great in your imagination, but might be a costly engineering nightmare. Your architect would be expected to know this. But if you're doing the design, not so much. In general, an MSP will cover all your IT bases as part of one ongoing agreement. They'll make sure your cybersecurity arrangements are well managed, they'll back up your data, they'll make sure your software is up to date and working properly, they'll advise you on what hardware you should be running, and they'll provide support to your users when they run into problems or have other challenges. They also might provide other services depending on the nature of their business and the agreement you put in place. So, assuming you already have your MSP in place, these are 5 questions you might want to ask them to make sure everything is in order. However, if you have an internal IT team, you could well ask them many of the same questions, and the answers might give you some indication on why you should be looking for an MSP. How do you stay current with technology trends to ensure your solutions follow modern best practices? The pace of technology change is ever accelerating, and an IT provider who is stubbornly following the practices of 5 or 10 years ago is definitely going to be a big risk. There isn't only one route to stay up to date, but having a business-wide commitment to constant upskilling is necessary to stay competitive. Your MSP should be able to tell you about their approaches to training, whether they require that team members keep certain certifications current, whether they attend or participate in industry conferences, and how they involve themselves in knowledge sharing more broadly. Beyond this, you might also want to know how they keep themselves up to date of the trends in the industries they work in. For example, if they specialise in working with financial firms or medical providers or in education settings, it's essential that they don't only have IT skills, but they also keep their fingers on the pulse of changes in areas like compliance for those industries too. What is your strategy for backup and disaster recovery, and how are these plans tested? One of the core requirements you should have of your MSP is to keep your data safe, and the most important way of doing this is to ensure it's regularly backed up. At the very minimum, they should have a complete copy of your data stored somewhere other than your premises, but ideally they maintain at least 3 copies of your data, including the one you're using, and they have the ability to restore to a point in time and on a file-by-file basis from their backups. You need to know what their approach is to your cloud data too. Do they back up your Microsoft 365 or Google Workspace data, along with the data that's on your on-premises servers? Are their backups designed to be resilient to ransomware encryption? Where, specifically, is your backup stored? And should one day your MSP go out of business, how would you access it? Additionally, you need to know how often they test the backups. Have they gone through a process of ensuring they can recover the data, and have they checked to ensure the backups contain what they think they do? How often do they do this? Do they do it from each backup location? And can they do it without reliance on a particular software that's in your environment? Worst case scenario, they should be able to stand up a duplicate of what you need to operate from a blank slate using the backups they have and other resources that they might have their hands on. What is your process and timeline for providing desktop support for my team members, and have you run into any issues with this? An essential part of the IT services any business needs is to ensure that employees who rely upon that technology are able to keep working and get problems fixed effectively. One of the biggest issues I see between business owners and their MSPs is a perceived lack of alignment between the support needs of the business and the support timelines that they provide. I once worked in an organisation that was open 7 days a week and had customers coming in every weekend carrying out transactions that required the use of various devices and software. That same organisation had signed up to the services of an MSP that guaranteed response to support calls Monday through Friday, 9 AM to 5 PM. Invariably, we would regularly run into IT issues on Saturday or Sunday and have absolutely no support, leaving customers annoyed and employees frustrated as the problems couldn't be fixed until Monday. The team members thought that this was just a reflection of the MSP being no good, but the reality was that the organisation had cheaped out when they signed up to their services and didn't want to pay the extra for the 24/7 support they offered. No one had thought this through or considered the consequences it might have. Ensuring the process your MSP follows and the services they offer as part of your agreement align with your business needs, and having an ongoing dialogue on specific problems that are cropping up is really important to the success of the agreement on both sides. Before we jump into question number 4, can I ask you a favour? If you're enjoying this video or it's bringing value to you, please give it a thumbs up to help it get in front of other interested people. And if you want to see more like this, please do get subscribed. Thanks. Do you disclose the relationships you have with or incentives you receive from your vendors or partners when recommending solutions for me to buy? Does your MSP invoice include Microsoft 365 Business Premium or E5, plus a range of other security or data protection tools from other vendors? If so, do you know why the MSP doesn't use the equivalent tools you're already paying for in your Microsoft 365 subscription? Is it because those third-party tools are better for your situation? Or is it because the MSP can make more money by selling them to you? How would they disclose this, and are they required to? Outside of your accountant, your doctor, and perhaps your priest, no one has more access to your private information than your MSP. This is an organisation you should be in a long-term and trusting relationship with, and that trust should be built on strong foundations where you are very clear what you are being sold and why. Within my business, I have a standing policy that my fees come exclusively from my clients, not from third-party companies that I'm recommending to them. I certainly have favoured solutions I recommend to clients, and I don't have a full view of every solution that's out there as there are just so many, but my clients are able to know that my recommendations are based on what I truly think is best, rather than which company gives me the best partner deal. If any relationship does exist, I disclose it as part of that dialogue. You should be able to know that the business rationale for everything that appears in your MSP invoice is clear, and what has driven the decision to recommend one vendor over another. What is your approach to data protection, and how do you help me better protect my data against internal and external threats? Your MSPs should be able to be clear with you about how their team members access your resources, what controls and audit capabilities they have on this, and how they control data about your organisation that they have under their control. It's good to know, for example, that they have processes in place that ensure any team members who leave their organisation aren't able to maintain access to any of your resources. Beyond this, what the MSP will do in relation to how you manage your data will depend on the services they provide and the ones that you've selected to pay for. Ultimately, you need someone who will help you ensure that tools like data loss prevention are properly set up in your environment, that you are checking you aren't holding on to personally identifiable information or PII that you shouldn't, and that you're protected against some forms of data leakage. Some standards will be important for you to, for example, pass a PCI DSS audit that allows you to continue to take payments via credit card, or to be covered by cyber insurance policies. If you don't have anyone taking care of how you manage your data, then your data is at risk. And you shouldn't just assume your MSP is on top of it because you signed some agreement with them years ago and haven't looked back at what it says since. And that takes us to the one essential thing that you can do today to skyrocket your potential of success with your MSP going forward. Understand your business relationship better. It may be months or years since you signed up with your MSP, and you probably have an agreement or a whole set of other documentation from them. There were probably things in their proposal that you chose to buy and things that you didn't, but the detail of this is probably at least somewhat foggy in your mind, and more likely it's something you decided to delete from memory as soon as they took over servicing your business. Go gather those emails or pull those documents out of your drawer and take a look at them. Have they been telling you for the last 3 years you need a new firewall and you've been putting it off? Did you opt not to get the weekend tech support 5 years ago, but then you decided to open your office on Saturdays last spring? Did you get a discount from them because your old IT guy, Jim, took care of your on-site backup each week, but then he left 2 years ago and you didn't think to tell his replacement? The devil, as they say, is in the detail. And just as you are responsible for ensuring you have the right level of insurance on your trucks, or your kitchen hood has a compliant fire suppression system, or your electricians are maintaining their professional certifications, you are responsible for the effectiveness of your technology. If you want help understanding your agreement and its implications, your first stop should be your MSP. But if you want a second opinion, feel free to reach out. There are details below on how to get in touch, and options from booking me for an hour of virtual advice to ongoing long-term projects to fit every type of need. The most important thing is you understand and are comfortable with the services you're getting to make sure your technology is compliant and effective, and in line with the needs of your business. So go take a look at those agreements and get a meeting set up with your account representative at your MSP to review the questions I've suggested. Technology is at the core of making every business work, and being proactive in relationships like this will make it work better for you. Thanks for watching through to the end. I hope this was useful to you. Until the next video. Bye bye.